Joining us now is NBC's Aaron Gilchrist at the White House, Ken Diladian at the Department of Justice, and April Ryan, Washington correspondent for Black Press USA. Aaron, walk us through what funding is paused exactly, and does the president have the power to do this if Congress is supposed to hold the power of the purse?
Yeah, so Anna, I should be clear about this. There's still a lot here that is not very clear as it relates to this memo that was sent from the Office of Management and Budget to federal agencies late yesterday. As we understand it, this memo directs these agencies to pause the disbursement of funds for financial assistance programs. It doesn't specifically identify in this memo which programs that refers to. It did say specifically that this does not include disbursements for Social Security and Medicare or direct payments to individuals. But that sort of leaves up in the air what exactly this does mean as it relates to the many programs that receive all or some of their funding from these grant and loan programs that are run by the executive branch of the federal government. So, for example, if you have programs that are funded, if you have people who receive assistance through state programs or nonprofit organizations, and the money comes from the federal government to those organizations or state local programs, that money flow from the federal government would be paused if this memo, according to this memo, that would go into effect at 5 o'clock this evening. And so those efforts, whether they be housing or food assistance programs or some education-related programs, those things would cease to receive that money from the federal government. Your question about whether the president has the authority to do this, you're right. Congress does control the purse strings, and as money is appropriated by Congress, it is supposed to be doled out by the executive branch. The president, Anna, does have some flexibility with that, but it's really not clear right now whether he has the ability to just say stop for any extended period of time.
April, a lot is not clear here. We don't know the full scope of this decision yet, and again, the actual powers the president has. But we do know people get federal aid in the form of loans, food aid, farm assistance. If we don't know the full extent of what's on pause, how much confusion does this create?
It creates a lot of confusion. And Anna, today we're going to find out. We're going to try to parse through the confusion today at 1 o'clock in the White House briefing room with the press briefing, rather, that's going to happen. What we do know is that the president is very much an anti-DEI, anti-woke person. Part of this loan and grant money is said to be pulling back from woke efforts and also the Green New Deal, something that the president doesn't like. And then think about this. As we hear about this money, this grant and loan initiative to stop, what will it do to people who are depending on that money for, be it housing, be it what have you? This could cause a lot more confusion than just saying, I'm going to stop a program. It could really mean a matter of how do I live versus, if I can or can't live, off the monies that I was supposed to get. So this is a really, really, really big deal for a president who's very much anti-DEI, anti-transgender, anti-climate change. We'll just have to wait until 1 o'clock to see what the White House has to say about all of this.
And Aaron, this memo was signed by the acting director of the Office of Management and Budget. Trump's pick to lead that office is Russell Vought, someone deeply involved with Project 2025. What do we know about his plans, if confirmed?
And someone who has served in this role in the first Trump administration. We don't have specific details about his plans moving into this position. We know that there was a contentious confirmation hearing for Mr. Vought last week, I believe it was, where he was asked questions about whether he would, for example, spend the money that Congress had appropriated for different programs. And he wasn't inclined to give a direct answer on some of these things, saying things like he would wait to see what the policy priorities were of President Trump, and he would act accordingly to his policy priorities and in accordance with the law. But he did talk about the president's desire to see fiscal accountability come back, as he often says, into the federal government. And he was asked if he would direct agencies to withhold grant funding. That was one of the questions that was put to him, whether he would withhold grant funding based on political differences with President Trump. And he indicated that He would make decisions based on the law, based on priorities from the president, not necessarily on political inclinations. Anna.
Aaron Gilchrist, thank you. We'll let you keep digging on what's impacted here. Ken, the Justice Department also made some news late yesterday announcing it fired several career lawyers who worked on investigations involving Trump. So do we know who exactly was fired, and what is the broader impact of this purge?
Good morning, Anna. The impact is deeply significant. We don't know all the identities nor the number of people fired. Around 40 career prosecutors worked for Jack Smith, so it's not clear how many we're talking about here. But this came in a letter from Acting Attorney General James McHenry, who summarily fired these people and said that essentially they cannot be trusted to carry out the president's agenda because they prosecuted the president. And the letter accused them of participating in the weaponization of the Justice Department. Important to say, there's been no evidence that has surfaced that has suggested that there was anything inappropriate or biased about the work of Jack Smith's office, which was carried out mostly by career prosecutors like these people we're talking about. And there really isn't, we're going to use this word unprecedented a lot. We have never seen this before. It's one thing for the administration to reassign some senior career officials, which they have done, and told them that they need to go work on sanctuary cities, and some of those people have resigned instead of going to do that. That's within their prerogative. That's legal. What legal experts are telling us is these firings were not legal because these people have civil service protection. In order to fire them, you need to prove essentially that they were incompetent, that they disobeyed orders, that they did something inappropriate. And there's a whole mechanism to enforce that. So they're going to fight these firings before what's known as the Merit Systems Protection Board. They may win, but it probably won't matter in the end. The message was sent. And the message is if you mess with the Trump administration inside the Justice Department, they are coming after you.
April, we are just 1 week into this presidency, and when you look at the scope of President Trump's moves in recent days, from firing a slew of inspector generals, the firing of officials at the Department of Justice, as well as this pause on grants and loans, and that's just what's been done the last 2 days. What do the last 8 days tell you about the next 4 years?
Hold on to your seats. I was talking to someone, an NAACP official. They were like, wait a minute, we're just 7 days? I said, no, 8 days into this today. And they were like, wow, what does this mean? It means that this president is true to what he said on the campaign trail, trying to fulfill things that he couldn't fulfill in the first term. This president is not a rights president. He is not a civil rights president. And that's one thing we know. We just have to see how it all plays out. But the question is, how much hurt will be doled out? I mean, just looking at that, the issue of the loans and grants, you also have research universities that money is going to be suspended with. And what will he constitute as woke versus not? I mean, you have a lot of HBCUs out here that get research money. They're looking to be an R1 research status institution. And will he say, oh, I don't want to do that anymore? And at one point, I remember when Donald Trump was president the first time, they offered to give more money to HBCUs. And then Steve Bannon came back and said, no, that's unconstitutional. But Congress gave the money. So there is a fine line here as to what is constitutional, what is woke, what is anti-DEI or DEI. We have to see what their definition of all of this is, but I expect there's going to be a lot of hurt for a lot of people between now and the end of this first term.
Ken, I wanted to ask you about another DOJ-related move. The president at least throwing out this idea yesterday that the United States should send American criminals overseas and simply pay foreign countries a small fee to hold them versus pumping, quote, massive amounts of money, end quote, into U.S. jails and private prisons. And he claims other countries do this. What are the facts, and could this go anywhere with the Justice Department?
I'm going to go out on a limb, Anna, and say that this would require a change in federal law. I don't believe that it's authorized as it currently stands. And look, obviously the British Empire did this, and that resulted in the creation of the country of Australia. It's not really done in modern times. I think this is an example, though, of the kind of thing that Donald Trump throws out there. Look, politicians are never going to lose popularity by promising to get tougher on criminals, but I think we need to keep our eye on the really significant things that they are doing here, including essentially going to war with law enforcement by firing career prosecutors and by pardoning people who committed violence against police officers, and by withdrawing the security details from former members of the administration who are under real threat from the Iranians. These are things that are happening. These are not just things that Donald Trump is throwing out there to get attention. So, but he's going to do that a lot. He's really good at it, and I think this is an example.
Ken, thank you so much. In April, at that same event yesterday, President Trump said this about a potential third term. Take a listen.
I've raised a lot of money for the next race that I assume I can't use for myself, but I'm not 100% sure because I don't know. I think I'm not allowed to run again. I'm not sure. Am I allowed to run again?
So he appeared to be joking there. But April, we've all learned over the years to take Trump's extreme rhetoric seriously. What do you make of that?
He said it over and over again. He's talked about a third term. And not only that, remember when he was running for office, he said, if you're a Christian, you don't have to vote again. I was like, what does that mean? So he's trying to push the envelope. Presidents have said in the past, the ones that I've covered over the last 28 years, I cannot run again because it's unconstitutional. Unless they change the Constitution, right now he's only going to be a two-term president. This should be under what our laws say and our founding fathers put in place. This should be his last term. But if there's an amendment, if something changes, he could wind up being a three-term president.